So, which organism in this relationship is the parasite?
The snail.
Not quite. What's inside the snail? The worms. The worms infect the snail, and they're what makes them have their antenna, this really bright color, and they look like maggots. And then their tentacles will move around, and they'll look like the maggots, and then they'll attract the birds. So, in this relationship, who would be the host? The snail, correct. And any other that would be the host?
The bird.
Right, the bird would also act as the host because it'll eat the antenna off these snails, and then it'll go spread, the worm will infect the bird, and it'll defecate on all the plants and trees, and then the snails will eat it up again, and then it's one continuous process where these worms infect the snails and the birds and the snails again. So that's one example of a parasitic relationship. And based on this picture, how is this depicting a parasitic relationship? If you could see, this is a big tree, and these are vines over the tree. So how would this represent a parasitic relationship? Because parasitic relationship doesn't necessarily mean it's between animals, it can also be plants too.
The vines would be the parasite.
Yep, the vines would be the parasite, the tree would be the host. And in this case, the vines are so big, it'll smother the tree, and it won't allow the sunlight to come in, and the tree will eventually die over a long period of time because all the vines are sucking up the nutrients that it needs. Alright, and predator-prey relationships are probably the most common of these, and this is an interaction that is beneficial to one species and detrimental to the other. And how do you think this is different from parasitism?
Usually in a predator-prey one of them dies because they're eaten.
Right.
And then the other one, they're just living off of them, trying to get.
Correct. The predator usually is trying to full-on eat the other animal, whereas in parasitism, they need their host in order to live. They don't want to kill it right away because they need to keep on sucking the nutrients out of it, so they don't want to kill it right away. But in this case, the predator needs that nutrients right away, and they don't need to play around with the food. So in this picture, what organism is it?
Polar
The polar bear. And the prey?
The seal.
Yep, obviously the seal. And I have another clip for you. This would be Venus flytrap.
Note the Venus flytrap. Did you ever imagine that a plant could devour such large creatures?
So yeah, the Venus flytrap is the predator or the prey? The predator. And the prey in this video was the frog and the fly. So, are there any other plants that you think are predators like this? You don't usually think of plants as predators, but they have special mechanisms and able to catch their prey. Are there any other kind of plants that you think would be like this? Well, in the rainforest, there's this thing called a pitcher plant, and it looks exactly like a pitcher, and then small rodents or frogs or animals will fall into the pitcher, and it has a liquid in there, and it'll digest all their nutrients, and it'll go through the plant like that. Okay, and for homework, I'm going to have you research and give me one example of each of these relationships, which is mutualism, commensalism, predator-prey, and parasitism, and be prepared to discuss with the rest of the class on some of your findings. Okay, that's about it. pitcher plant that I was telling you about, see this big opening? The animal will fall down in there because this plant will excrete a pheromone that attracts other animals to it. They'll fall into there and there will be a liquid in the bottom. It'll digest all the flesh from the animal if it's a mammal or a frog or something like that. And it'll pretty much dissolve an insect. And then the nutrients will get sucked up through the vines.
I was gonna ask, how does the plant get the pitcher plant get the digestive juices? Does it manufacture its own juices?
Yeah, so it'll manufacture its own liquid, and that'll sit in the bottom. And then as soon as it digests that, it'll go through the stem system, and then everything will be dissolved in there, and that's how it gets the nutrients.
So where does the frog go in that one?
So in this case, the frog from the video will run across the Venus flytrap mouth. It'll be open like that. And then the Venus flytrap has sensors in there, which makes the flaps close up. And then it will excrete digestive enzymes and liquefy the frog, pretty much. And then that liquefaction will be dissolved through the plant, then down through the stem system. Whereas a pitcher plant, it's pretty much a pitcher and it can't get rid of waste that well. These can get rid of like extra chunky bones or something that it needs to get rid of because it can just spit them up the other side. So it doesn't have that bowl shape in it. So the enzymes from the pitcher plant are much stronger because it has to digest those hard materials. Any other questions?